What's going on? It's your boy Shaw, aka Shaw the Barber, aka Skill Hands of Work. We back at it one more time, y'all. Hey, today I went to the VA, and this video is really directed mainly at veterans. But I talked to a lot of veterans, and we talk about how the VA system is, and all these different things. Let's just talk about this from the standpoint of mental health issues, right? So I go to the VA, and I talk to a mental health doctor. I mean, she prescribes and does different things. And this is hard, y'all, because I don't like letting everything out, but I feel like the best way to connect with people is to just open up a little bit. And so I'm trying to. It's hard, but I'm trying. But I want to just make a message to veterans. Veterans, we complain about how bad the VA is. And I was one of them people. I had some bad issues with the VA. But the VA is just like a relationship. Now, obviously, I'm gonna stop trying to talk around stuff. I'm gonna talk about it from my perspective. All right, so when I got out the military, I was seeing a doctor in the military, and he was, you know what? Here we go. So this is hard, y'all. It's hard. Look, veterans, you ain't the only one. We all go through issues. We all have problems. But the thing is, we can't sit and hide in our houses and hide from the world because we're not going to be living that way. You got to go in. You got to talk to somebody. Look, the people at the VA, yes, they treat us like we numbers. But that's only until you find somebody who care. Like, I went through so many doctors at the VA not just in the VA. This got to be for everybody. This can't just be people in the VA. We just focusing on our issues. And what I'm trying to say is we get treated like a number, and that's because it's so many people and so few doctors. And really, if you think about it, so few doctors are actually doing this because they actually care, and more of them are doing it because of the actual pay. But you got to think, the doctors at the VA, they ain't getting paid as much as a doctor outside the VA. Their workload is crazy. All of them don't care. But what I'm saying is you got to keep searching until you find somebody who do. I found 3 doctors in my search. 3. 2 of them retired. One of them was able to pass me off to another doctor, and guess what? She's the 3rd doctor who cared. But I've been through a lot that didn't. They just treat you like a number. And sometimes the one who actually cares about me, which I just saw her today, sometimes she's still on the schedule and she has to get to that next person. And what I'm saying is, when we go to the VA, they can't solve our problems. All they can do is try and give us the best tools that we need to fix our problems. That's what they're doing for me. My problems ain't solved. My problems may never be able to be fixed. But what they do is they give you a 30-minute or an hour time frame to try and find out where you at. Some people, you think we all go to the VA with different issues, but we feel like our issue is the only one that matters at the time. I'm guilty of that. I walk in thinking that all the time. But what I'm saying is, don't give up. I'm going to give you a little bit of my background once again, because I'm finding out that this is helping, and it's making my videos feel a little bit more authentic, because I'm not just talking at people. I have to find a way to try and relate with people. So I give you I'm trying, y'all. But basically what it boils down to is, when I first got here to the VA, I was being prescribed something that was helping me out, so I thought it was helping me out. And I got here and the VA was like, we don't prescribe that and we won't be prescribing it to you anymore. That hurt, because I felt like I found something in my life that made my life better, and they took it away from me. And I didn't like them having that kind of power over whether my life is good or bad. So it was about 2 years, and I felt like my life was getting worse. And because I felt like my life was getting worse, things around me were actually getting worse. And so I kicked and screamed. And forget that, I ain't kick and scream, y'all. I'm going to tell y'all what I did, because this is the truth. Now, where I feel like I was not in a suicidal state, I was not ready to hurt nobody, but life was hard, and I was hurting on the inside because life was hard. And I think that because I was hurting on the inside, it was affecting everybody else in my life. I made life hard for my wife. I made life hard for my kids. And what I'm saying is, it was because I had issues from the military and my experience that I can't explain to them. I'm not going to explain it to y'all. I mean, I might give y'all bits and pieces, but I can't explain, and I don't want to. What I want to do is help other people find out how they can find peace and happiness for themselves. I'm working on it. I ain't there yet, but it's getting better. And it's because I found somebody at the VA who actually cares and is directing me in the right directions. She's giving me guidance. She's listening to me and not just prescribing to me as soon as I walk in. What I'm saying is, you got to keep going until you find that person. And I know it get hard because you got to work, and it's hard to get off work. But what I'm telling you is, your mental health and your mental state, your mental well-being is more important than even your job. And the reason I say it's more important is because if your mental health ain't right, then even your job ain't going to work out for you. I mean, it's a possibility. I'm not saying it's not going to work out, but what I'm saying is, you got to seek out help. I told you I was going to tell you what I did, and I jumped off the subject. But so I felt like I was kicking and screaming because I needed that help, and I didn't know how to get it. And see, what people fail to realize is, mental health is an important issue. It's an important issue. It's something that can't be denied these days. But the way that we're going about working on these mental health issues, I feel like it's wrong. And the reason I say it's wrong is because it take work on everybody's part, not just on the doctors. It take our part as well, and the people in our families as well, to know when something ain't going right. We have to identify it in ourselves first. So let me tell you, look, this is hard, but I feel like it's necessary. That's why I'm doing it. What I'm saying is, I go through a lot. And by letting it out, especially when I see other veterans, it helps. I'll get into probably more detail on what I'm talking about, the stuff that I went through, stuff like that, which I know that's the stuff that some of y'all gonna be dying to hear. Y'all want to hear my hurt and my pain. And what I'm telling you is, I try to avoid my hurt and my pain, just like a lot of other veterans out here. We try to avoid the hurt and the pain. We don't want to talk about it. We don't want to think about it. We try and do everything we can to walk around this world happy all the time, but we hurt. That's what I said in my last video. We hurt. And what I want people to understand is, we be so trapped in our own worlds thinking about how we feel that we ain't thinking about how other people feel. When I go to the VA, I want my doctor to listen to me and only be worried about me. And it's like, they got a time limit they got to be on. And that's why it's up to us. We got to look at our doctors as if they're just giving us nuggets to take out into the world, to utilize. It's like going to school. They teach you the basics, and then you expand on that. Well, my doctor is giving me the basics, and I'm expanding on that, and I'm trying to find that key to happiness on my own. But at the same time, I lean into other people. I find other vets, and when I see them, and I've been wanting to say this, but one way that I spot a veteran is when it's raining outside. I look around as I walk, and I see who else ain't running. Who else ain't running because the rain just started? And when I see that person, I'm thinking it's either a person who worked outside or it's a person who was in the military. Because in the military, whether you work outside or not, if you're in formation and it's outside and it starts raining, that formation is going nowhere until you're released. If you're working outside and it starts raining, you don't go nowhere. And a lot of times I'm right. Sometimes I'm wrong. I don't feel that I'm always right. But when I find that person, the person who really don't take off raining and it's pouring down, that's probably a person who need to be talked to. Because the world inside their head is raining harder than the world outside. They in deep thought, and that rain ain't bothered them at all. And a lot of times, that's us veterans. The rain ain't bothering us. Because we thinking and dealing with some things that feel like it's so much more important than what's going on around us, and we can't get outside of our own heads. I don't think that I got it better than anybody else. I don't think that I got it worse than anybody else. I feel that there are people out there who have way worse issues than I have. And the fact that I'm able to make this video lets me know that I ain't lost. The fact that I'm able to let people inside my world, that was hard. I went to the VA and I wouldn't let people inside my world. But by going to the VA, my doctor listening to me and not just trying to prescribe stuff to me. My doctor does not just tell me, oh, you're depressed and give you something for depression. Oh, you got this. Like, how you know you got a good doctor is when they listen to you. If you walk in there rushing and feeling like you have to have something prescribed to you, well, that person don't know you well enough to prescribe nothing to you in the first visit. Lean into them and let them in if you can trust them. But you got to build up that trust first. And that's why this mental health I feel is wrong, because there's no way you're going to be able to tell me what state I'm in 30 minutes. But the way that the government has it set up is that 30 minutes is the cap to catch the person who's about to go over the edge. But even some of these appointments, they're like 30 days out, 60 days out. It's enough time for somebody to go over the edge in that 30 to 60 days. But it's good when you got somebody that's willing to listen to you and understand you. And you got to let them in. You got to take the chance. I know a lot of us be worried about whether or not we go in and say something and then make it so we can't have guns. But what I'm saying is, your mental health is more important than whether or not you're going to be able to have a gun or not. Because you need to be thinking clearly when you put in that situation. Now, I know a lot of people thinking, well, yeah, that's what your training came in for. What I'm saying is, sometimes it's a fine line between tipping over that edge and being perfectly sane. It's only one thing that can make you snap. You got to lean into other people. And vets, we need each other. We need to come together and find others that we can relate to. Look, I don't relate to everybody who ever wore a uniform. Look, I want to tell y'all something right now, but I'm going to save this for another video. But the scariest time I ever had in the military, it was when I was by myself. And I say by myself, I mean in the desert. I was there with nobody who I knew. Though I was there with people who wore the same uniform as me, I didn't know the people who were there. And I ain't trying to get into a race discussion now, but I got stuck with people who I knew didn't like me. And when you in a deployment and you with people who you know don't like you, and you feel like it's because of the color of your skin, which that's all I had that was different than everybody else. And it was a person who was there before me who was mistreated until I showed up. But that's just because my skin complexion was darker than his. What I'm saying is, being alone and in a situation where you feel like you could die, or you feel like you're going to die, that's a scary feeling. I'll tell that story some other time because that's something I want to share. I think it's important, but I ain't there yet. But what I'm saying is, vets, we got to come together. We could deal with some of our issues on our own. Every time I see a vet, the one question I ask them is, how are you dealing with being out the military? That's a deep question. And what I'm saying is, vets, if y'all ever been on a deployment, you know how you get that 1 week of reintegration with your family? Like, they give you a class about, like, they trying to spot the signs of who's going to go home and snap on their family. That's what they're trying to do in that 1 week. They want to see if they can catch you before they get there. But what we all know is that 1 week is like the bare minimum. I just got done talking to my doctor, and my doctor told me, you know, that getting out the military, nobody has trained us how to deal with the emotions of the things that happened to us while we was in the military. And what I'm saying is, it's deeper than that. Heck, nobody taught me how to deal with one deployment before it was time for me to go on the next deployment. We sitting here talking about reintegrating people to be with their families. And it's so basic and so simple that we missing things, because that's a big thing. And we only giving it 1 week. And what I'm trying to tell you is, after I got off of a deployment, I was so used to sleeping in a cot that when I came back home, it took me months to get used to sleeping in a queen size bed. I slept on the couch for months. Nobody showed me how to get used to that way of living, and you trying to tell me in a week you could tell me how to be used to being with my family? That's how deep this goes, people, and we only looking at the surface. But the government and all these other people who are making these decisions, they can only look at the surface because that's all they can tackle. They're trying to make a change, but theirs is at the surface, and ours the things that we need are so much deeper than that. What I'm saying is, if you're trying to tell me how to deal with my family, and I'm telling you that I spent months trying to learn how to live or sleep in a queen size bed, do you see how big the disconnect is? I'm trying to deal with that smaller level, and you're already talking way above me. That's what's wrong with the mental health system altogether. We don't know how deep things go, and we're trying to tackle things way up on the surface. We got to get to know people, and we can't depend on the mental health system. We got to depend on each other. I learned from more veterans when I asked them, how are you dealing with being out the military? When they tell me that they stay at home, I do the same thing. When they tell me, one guy just this past weekend, he told me, I sit at home and I play my music. And I ain't talking about listening to music. He makes music. And that's how he separates himself from this world. Hell, I cut hair. That's how I connect with society. I feel like cutting hair takes my mind off of the pains that I go through. And what I'm realizing is so many of us that don't know that we ain't alone. Well, I'm here to tell you, you ain't by yourself. I hurt sometimes, people. Heck, I say sometimes because I'm scared to tell you all the time. But it's true. And we try and run away from the hurt. And running from the hurt only makes it worse. We got to deal with the hurt. We got to deal with it. We can't run from it. We can't hide from it. Look, I don't care what it takes. Keep going to the VA until you find somebody who cares. Keep talking to the people around you, the people that you love. Keep talking to them. What I'm saying is, you ain't got to hurt by yourself. And I'm telling you, when you let your hurt out, it is the way to getting better. And I'm trying. And these videos is a testament to the fact that it's working. I can't believe I'm sharing, and I want to share so much more, but I'm so scared to. But we're going to get into it. But veterans, reach out. Get the help that you need. And if you judging me on my videos, I don't care. This ain't for you. But you're more than welcome to leave a comment. But I hope that I reach one veteran. One person. It ain't got to be a vet. I hope I reach one person that I talk them off the ledge and get them some help. Because that's what this world needs. We all need help. I love y'all. We gonna get there together. And I'm gonna make sure it happens. This your boy, Shaw, a.k.a. Shaw the Barber, a.k.a. Skill Hands at Work. This who I am. Take it or leave it. I'm out.